The Liberal government is under fire across parts of the country after the Prime Minister announced last week that he's pausing the carbon tax for residents in Atlantic Canada.
Leading the charge, of course, is Poilievre. The Conservative leader sat down to speak with us earlier today over Zoom, where he repeated his call for the government to scrap the carbon tax entirely. He also called out local Liberal MPs Patty Hajdu and Marcus Poilievre for failing to secure an exemption here.
Okay, Mr. Poilievre, thank you so much for the time today. Let's start with the main reason that you're here. On Thursday, we know that Justin Trudeau announced that he's going to pause the carbon tax on home heating oil for 3 years in Atlantic Canada and double the rebate for rural residents across the country. You want the Liberals to go a lot farther than that and scrap the carbon tax entirely. Why?
It's only fair. I mean, after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, life costs more, work doesn't pay, housing costs have doubled. And part of the reason is his carbon tax, which drives up food, gas, and groceries. Now he wants to quadruple that tax to 61 cents a liter. Now, what I've said is we'll decide the future of the carbon tax in the next election. But in the meantime, he's offered a pause on home heating fuels for Atlantic Canadians. What about people in Thunder Bay? Thunder Bay is cold, as you know. And the Liberal MPs have failed to give Thunder Bay residents an exemption or a pause on their natural gas and propane heat. So why is it that Patty Hajdu and Marcus Poilievre have not gotten the same carve out for Thunder Bay that Justin Trudeau has offered other Canadians in the East?
You've long said that you're against the carbon tax. Now, we have seen the impact, though, of climate change here in northwestern Ontario. We know that remote First Nations have been forced to evacuate several times in recent years due to wildfires and flooding. So if a carbon tax isn't part of the solution to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, then how do we achieve that 40% reduction that Canada has committed to by 2030?
We need to green light green projects here in Canada so that we can produce more emissions-free nuclear, hydroelectric, tidal wave power that can feed our grid with green, carbon-free energy, and that can help power our economy. That'll be a way of making carbon-free energies more affordable rather than making traditional energy more expensive. Justin Trudeau has effectively admitted that his carbon tax is not an environmental plan by pausing that tax on the home heating fuels in Atlantic Canada. But Liberal MPs in Thunder Bay have not got the same carve out for the residents there. So we have a question for Patty Hajdu. Is this a case on the carbon tax of do as I say, not as I do?
I also want to talk about the opioid crisis. Thunder Bay has some of the highest opioid death statistics in the country, worse than the Ontario average, worse even than in BC. You've derided the Liberals' approach to fighting the crisis, and you've also referred to safe supply programs and safe injection sites as the tax-funded drug supply. How would you more effectively fight the opioid crisis?
That's a good question. After 8 years of Trudeau, the number of overdose deaths is up 200%. And now we know that well, first of all, let's just acknowledge, how did this start? The corrupt pharmaceutical companies pushed OxyContin that got thousands of people addicted. Now that's a pharmaceutical grade drug. So what is Trudeau now saying his solution is? To give out more pharmaceutical grade opioids, the same ones that started the crisis in the first place. He's literally giving them out with tax dollars, and he's decriminalized the possession of crack, heroin, and other hard drugs. This is not working. Look at your streets. Look at these tent cities. We never had these tent cities before Justin Trudeau. My common sense plan takes the money away from tax-funded opioids and gives it to treatment and recovery. Beautiful treatment centers where people can go get detox, counseling, job preparation, group therapy, sweat lodges for First Nations, exercise, yoga, and then let's build apartments right on to the side of those centers so that graduates can live for 60 or 100 days as they transition back. They can return to the treatment center to get more help, to get in a workout, or maybe to mentor the incoming addicts. That's how we bring home our loved ones drug-free. I'm also going to sue the big pharma companies who caused this crisis. The Americans have collected $54 billion in settlements from those companies. We've lost 30,000 people here. We should get billions in settlements, and I'll put that recovered money into more treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, thank you so much for your time.
It's common sense. Let's bring it home.
And that was just a portion of our interview with Pierre Poilievre. You can catch the whole conversation on tomorrow's edition of TBT News Word for Word at 5:30 p.m. on Global Thunder Bay.